Alright, hey guys, just wanted to make a video here talking about cards that I like, or find interesting, I guess. Uh, I'm gonna start it off here with Archfiend of Ifnir. I've never actually used this card. Well, I've used it in some testing decks, or decks that I was testing out, but for this card, I kind of just like the art. It's one of my favorite arts in Magic the Gathering. He looks kind of like a Dark Souls boss, or something like that. I like his horns and how he's kind of sitting in the dark on this little pedestal. It's just a very good. I like the design quite a bit. It's pretty cool. And then I wanted to move on to Venture Forth. I really like these cards here with the suspend mechanic. And this one in particular, you can kind of automate it after you've cast either the suspend cost or the mana cost. You can it kind of just keeps going off every 3 turns. And the art is pretty cool too, with it like venturing forth into different planes or planets or whatever. I really like that. It's pretty cool. Third one here is Bounty of Luxa, which also plays around with phases, kind of. This is kind of an odd card, and I really like the way that they've implemented it here. You put a counter on it and draw if there was no counter on it, and then if there was a counter on it, you just remove it, and on the turn that you remove the counter, you also get 3 mana, which is pretty cool. And it's blue-green. I just really like these ones that kind of they act by themselves after you've paid the mana cost, basically. It's just a different way of restructuring the game, kind of, or automating your deck in some ways, as long as people don't have a counter spell or counter ability sort of card. This card here is actually one of my favorite cards in Magic the Gathering, Campfire. That 2 life that you gain by tapping it actually can put in quite a bit of work, as long as people don't have players can't gain life enchantments, which is possible. And then this second ability I don't really use a whole lot, but I mean it could be useful if your command tax is super high. You can just exile Campfire and put all your commanders into your hand, and then you can just cast them from your hand. And you get to shuffle your graveyard into your library as well, which is useful. But mostly this gain 2 life just by paying 1 and tapping it, especially in longer games. If you can get it out early, it builds up over time, and people can underestimate it sometimes. In my experience, anyway. But I can understand why it's not a super powerful card, so I can understand why it's not exactly used quite a bit. And we got World Fire. I actually built a 60 card deck with World of Fire as the main component. It's actually really fun. Well, I guess it gets boring after a long time, but it's really fun to get this off, and then it becomes a race to whoever can do 1 damage to everyone else. It changes the game slightly to be more. When it becomes more of a race after it goes off, it becomes a more thrilling game. It's like everyone's on the edge of their seat waiting to see who can deal 1 damage. Unless you can also get those ones like suspend cards would become useful here. I didn't do that in my 60 card deck. I wanted to talk about these cards. These cards are all cards that when you cast them, you can exile them. Or most of them are. I guess Epocrisite is when he dies, he gets exiled with 3-time counters. And then he can come back, as long as he's not exiled with Path to Exile or anything like that. He can keep coming back. But the rest of these cards are all, I guess, Epocrisite, Gandalf of Secret Fire, and this Deepest Epoch guy, and Temple of Cyclical Time. These are all a bit different than the rest. But the main 3 I want to talk about was Inspiring Refrain, Rousing Refrain, and Venture Forth. A lot of these cards are pretty cool. Being able to, talking about automating your deck, a lot of these cards can do that. Like Venture Forth, searching for a land, and then Rousing Refrain can give you more mana equal to the cards in an opponent's hand, and it can keep coming back. And then draw 2 cards, every 3 turns with this one, and as long as nobody counters them, which they can because they see them coming. That's kind of like the point, I guess. It becomes, if you get them off early enough, they become such a regular occurrence that some people can forget about. Even though they're like right out, it's like hiding in plain sight kind of a strategy, which can be useful. And there are other ways also to make them faster. Even with the suspend, there are cards like in the next section, I'll talk about some cards that can speed it up. You'll notice that these guys are also sitting on chairs. We'll have to hide those so they don't get stolen, obviously. So we're going to do that. Gandalf's Secret Fire can suspend any instant or sorcery spell you cast. It doesn't come back after that. Yeah, it says from your hand, so it only happens once with Gandalf the Secret Fire, but it still plays around with suspend, which is pretty cool. And then this Temple of Cyclical Time and the Deepest Epoch guy. I don't know how to pronounce his full name, so I'll just leave it at that. But I like this Temple. It's pretty cool. I haven't used him in a deck, though. I haven't used a lot of these cards in the deck. I have used Venture Forth and both of the refrains. Reality Strobe I've used in a deck, in a commander deck, and as well as Chronomantic Escape. I've used that one. It's actually pretty useful for Pillow Fort decks, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's that. And we'll move on to these ones that can make it faster. There are definitely more cards that remove time counters, but these are the most reliable I've found because you can use them over and over again, like Drura's Time Bug. And Rift Elemental is really cool because you don't have to tap him to remove a time counter. And he gets +2/+0, but that's not really important. What's the important part is that you can remove time counters from the permanent by paying 2, a generic and a red mana, which can make those cards in the previous section quite a bit faster. And then there's also these two over here, Sphinx of the Second Sun and Shadow of the Second Sun, that give you additional beginning phases. And since time counters are removed at the beginning of the upkeep step, these ones can give you another chance during the same turn to remove a time counter. So you can really get them going faster. I haven't made a deck with these ones in, but I've been thinking about it quite a bit recently about doing a suspend deck, and I think that would be quite a bit of fun. I just don't know what the end game would be yet, so that's that. And then I wanted to talk about these 3. These are 3 of my, well, these 2 are my most recent commander decks. This Cody the Vociferous Codex, I've made this commander deck quite a while ago, but it's one of my favorites. I was thinking about doing a video on one of these. If there was more interest in one of these more than any of the others, I could do that first. I was thinking about doing Indoraptor next because it has a I think it's pretty cool with this Bloodthirst and Enrage mechanic. I really like the Enrage mechanic. I've been playing with that quite a bit in this deck, and there's it's pretty cool. I kind of want to show this deck next. And then this one's not Kenosis, Priest of Thassa. It's not very interesting. It's just a tribal deck with Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, and Serpents. So it's like probably my most boring deck, but I like the Scry. Increasing the number of Scry is kind of interesting. I really like that gameplay. And then this one with the Cody the Vociferous Codex. You can't cast permanent spells. I basically made it so that it's completely instant and sorceries, and there are no permanent spells in the deck. I know that you can cast the permanents when he's in the command zone, but I thought, why not make it more interesting and just remove the permanents altogether? So I thought that would be an interesting way to build that deck. And that was about it for these 3. I'll probably do a full video on Indoraptor and maybe later the Vociferous Codex. I might not do a video on Kenosis just because it's just a tribal deck. I find tribal decks are fairly uninteresting most of the time because it's just tribal. I mean, sure that you can get them going pretty good, and they're pretty good decks, but they're just, you know, tribal. And then there's one more card here I wanted to talk about, and it's this Kozilek the Great Distortion. But I didn't really want to talk about the mechanics of the card here. I wanted to talk about the art. I showed this to my girlfriend as well as a couple other people, and they agree that this looks like a penis. This art on this card, I think it's hilarious because, and I haven't seen anyone else talking about the art on this card. If you ever wanted to build a deck to slap a cock on the table, this would be the deck to build, because this is definitely, like, this is the way Kozilek the Great Distortion's art is supposed to look like in the right hand side. But this left hand one, I don't know what was going on here, but I think it's fucking hilarious. You can just slap that on the table and play some magic. What do you think? I want to know what people think about this one. Am I right? Am I wrong? I had a friend say that it doesn't look anything like that, but yeah, I think it looks like a floppy penis with foreskin. I gotta say, I haven't seen anyone talk about it, but I had to say something, because I was just thinking about that card the other day, and I was laughing at it, so I wanted to see what other people think. That's all. And then that's the end of the video. We'll end it here.